build an offer, and then test it. I think I probably wasted like at least $20,000 just doing that.
The fact that a lot of people that I speak to, they don't have setters on their accounts and they're trying to scale to like 50K plus. I'm just like, oh, how dumb can you be?
I got like 220K months because of organic audience that I already had. I didn't crack a smile. You know why, Mohiz? I had no acquisition system.
You've seen it yourself. You refer me a client. The next day you see them on my story, the booking calls.
Looking back at it though, I think that had I done your method, which was just ask my audience what they wanted, I would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of headaches essentially.
Hey guys, how's it going? So I've got a very special interview with my good friend and client, Hassan Chatter. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down exactly how he scaled his business from 0 to 54K in a single month. So without further ado, my man, just introduce yourself. Let everyone know what you've done.
What's up, guys? Hassan here, like he said. I know I look like I'm 12, but I'm actually 24, which like literally no one guesses. I just have terrible beard genetics. I'm always shaving all the time. But anyway, 24 years old. I've been in sales for about 2 years at this point. I've closed roughly 3.5 million in sales at this point. And currently in 2023, I run a sales consulting business where we essentially train people in sales and we place them on offers.
Wow, it's crazy stuff. So 3.5 million, obviously, that's a huge number, by the way. So like, I feel like a lot of people don't put this into perspective. Like, that's a lot of money. So why did you wait so long? And why, I mean, not even why did you wait so long? Why did you close so much before you even actually started this company in the first place?
Honestly, man, like this is gonna like sound a bit controversial. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like at this point, it's a meme on Twitter, right? I don't even think I have to like say it's controversial to the audience. They know, like, you know, it's like there's just so many coaches in the market at this point. Everyone's a coach. Like no one actually tries to do their due diligence. No one actually tries to learn the skill set. People think that's like a money grab. And like, I just did not want that to be me, especially because when I was a closer, I used to laugh at those same people, right? Like I used to like joke about it all the time, do like with you, you know, with my other friends, other closers in the community. And I just did not want to be that guy, right? That's first thing, right? Second thing is I was like, okay, look, if I'm going to actually build a business, I want to be the best, right? Yeah. And that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. It's like, if you're getting in business, you should actually be good at what you do, right? So in my mind, I was like, look, I want to wait until I'm good at what I do, until I feel very, very confident. And for me, look, I'm a numbers guy. So I was like, when I closed 3 million in sales, and I had closed like at that point, I think it was like 400 people. I was like, okay, you know what? At this point, I feel like I've done a good enough job. And on top of that, at that point, dude, I coached like 500 agency owners in sales. Right. Yeah. That had like a bunch of private clients too. So I was like, okay, I think now's the time. And just like let the audience know, guys, I just soft launched for my offer in April and then like a full on launch on like June 15th, which is when I quit my closing position.
Crazy stuff, man. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they don't like understand that you actually did a lot of stuff before you even started this agency thing. And, you know, coaching and, you know, getting into this type of stuff, you need to at least have something tangible or like something tangible that you've done before you can, you know, put your chest and be like, hey, I want to coach people. So
exactly.
Speaking about the notable stuff that you've done, let's dive a little bit backwards actually before you even start this coaching thing in the first place. I mean, not even the coaching, the sales stuff. Like, you explain what got you into it specifically?
Right. So it happened by complete accident. So like real quick, guys, don't worry, I won't draw it on too long. But I was initially an agency owner. You know, I fell into the agency space, was my first ever business, like most people. And this was right around quarantine time specifically, right? You know, watched Iman videos like everybody else, very cliche story, I know. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I want to build an agency. It's going to be my way out. And, you know, from just like watching a basic course, like I learned the very basics, but then I didn't understand like how to do like client acquisition. I did not understand how to do outreach. I didn't know any of that because it didn't really teach it back then. So then what I did is like I borrowed $1,000 from my brother because I had no money, you know, dead broke. And then I paid my first coach. And he got me into the space and I failed miserably. Didn't know what I was doing. And then from there, you know, worked a bunch of minimum wage jobs, you know, Pizza Hut, delivery driver. I was washing dishes. Guys, at one point I was even driving taxi. And from there, I paid a company to help me scale the agency. And the founder of the company put up a post on Instagram saying he was looking for a closer. I'm like, fuck's a closer. Let me just go for it, see what happens. I had a chat with him. And then I found out that I was supposed to take a sales calls, competed with like 10 to 15 people. Super stressful, but what ended up happening is I closed my 4th ever call that I took and I made like $1,000 that day. And I was like, what? Like, how, huh? Like, this is real? This is real life. And like 2 more days went by and then I made 3,000 in a single day. And at that point, I just basically became hooked. And that's like how I got into sales by
Nice.
complete accident.
That's actually kind of crazy, man. And then obviously since then you just took tons and tons of sales calls. You even closed me. So like it's hilarious. And yeah, like obviously now we're basically here, like you running this like close to multi seven figures actually company, which is like, crazy. So let's talk about like the company specifically now. So
Mm.
when you started your coaching business, like
Yeah.
what would you say was kind of like the biggest mistake that you kind of like you kind of did when you actually started a company, or like the things that most people kind of make, like the mistakes that they make?
Yeah. So by far the biggest mistake that I made is I thought from only my perspective, right? So like I did not, so I didn't ask myself what the market wanted. I was like, what do I want? And look, like while it's very cool to like build a business that you want to build, and look, we all want to build our dream businesses. Unfortunately, guys, unless you're famous, like life doesn't work that way. Life's not that easy, right? You
Yeah.
have to actually give the market what they want. So initially, I was like, okay, you know what I want to do? I want to train other sales reps in sales because I love doing it. I was very good at it at a 60% close rate. Didn't work out too well, right? Then I realized I was like, okay, what can I really do here? And I should have listened to you, because like one of your methods, which is freaking genius, is you just take a bunch of calls with people that are already in your audience. You just ask them like what they want. You figure out what their inefficiencies are, and then you create an offer around that. I didn't do that, right? To be fair though, I figured it out a bit later, because we started talking a bit later about like how I could have done things a bit better. But essentially, guys, what I did is I just did like what everybody else does, which is build an offer and then test it, build an offer and then test it.
Yeah.
And dude, I think I probably wasted like at least $20,000 just doing that.
Crazy. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people they don't talk about this. I even saw this one time. This person was saying, hey, like, if you want to test your offer, script out like 10 different ads and like just like have a hypothesis of what people want and just run it
No.
out and spend like 5K just to figure out what people want. But like that's like a huge mistake that not a lot of people do.
Yep.
And obviously, like one of our methods is like the completely organic way, where it's like you just speak to actual human beings on the phone. So when you actually spoke to them, like, or obviously when you figured out like the main offer that you wanted to do, what were people actually saying? Like, what were people like actually telling you that they wanted to buy?
Yeah. So what I realized was that there was a pretty large gap in the market where there were a lot of people that were going through sales programs, but they weren't getting placed. Right. And people just want to get placed. Right. Again, it's like a meme at this point. There's everyone runs a either a VA placement business or like a sales placement business.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that there was a gap in the market, I was like, okay, if I can somehow figure out a way to fill this void, I think I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right now, it didn't start off this way. Initially, what I tried is I was like, it's so ridiculous thinking about it, dude. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take agency owners and turn them into closers, which was so stupid. Because the thing is, like, just because that was me does not mean that's everybody else. Like, a lot of people don't like sales, right? Which is why, and that's fair enough. If you don't like sales, don't worry. Like, that's totally fine. We all have our strengths. But I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then what happened is, me and my team, we run the ads. And then my team's like, dude, you're competing with everyone else that's running ads to agency owners. But guys, here was the difference. Basically, like this is the best analogy I can give you. Basically, what was happening is like I was going to a bunch of Christians and I was trying to convert them to a different religion, right? so I was in a bunch of Christians and I was like, become Muslim, basically. It doesn't work that way, right? Whereas the other gurus that were just teaching agency owners were like, hey, become more religious, essentially. Here's how you can become more religious. Here's how you can become better. That's like a good analogy I can give you guys. Might have been a weird one, but that's essentially the way I want to do it. Yeah, like that's what happened. And then I realized I'm like, okay, I can just change someone's entire mindset and get them to just make a complete 180 on their career choice.
Yeah.
Right. And exactly. And so I was like, all right, you know what? I might as well just go after people that want to already get into sales as a way of making money. And that's when everything really just changed.
Yeah, that was kind of like your eureka moment, I would say. So in terms of like, let's say revenue specifically, at that point in time, before you kind of like figured out, okay, cool, this is what I want to focus on, like how much were you kind of doing? Because I think that's the time that we kind of came in and actually helped you.
Yeah. So when I started to figure things out a little bit, I started doing about 20K roughly, which was like amazing for me. So, and I'll explain why. It was amazing for me because I was like, okay, I'm finally making money with a company, right? So like one thing that a lot of people don't understand about business, cliche, I know, it's fucking hard. It's really, 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 really hard, right? So I had like at one point I was like minus 23K, and I hadn't seen a single dollar back because again I was being inefficient by trying to think to myself, I can figure it out on my own. I can just test out these offers. Looking back at it though, I think that had I done your method, which was just ask my audience what they wanted, I would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of like headaches essentially.
Yeah.
But what happened is I met you around the time or we started working together rather, around the time when I was doing about 2025. And at that point, like I got some lead flow coming in, but operations were just terrible. Like they were disgusting. Like, guys, like you're gonna laugh at me. I didn't even have a setter. Like I had a dialer from Bangladesh, right? And then what happened is like once like leads like started coming in a lot, I didn't even have time to actually answer the DMs. And then like when he saw what was happening, he was like, dude, please, like, what are you doing? Like you're wasting so much money. Like let me set you up, right? And then we started working together, and then like everything basically changed where things just started to become a lot more streamlined.
A lot more efficient. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they get to that, let's say like 15 or 20 mark, but like they have like zero operations. Like they have no idea what's happening. Like it's so inconsistent as well too. They'll make it 1 month and then it just goes down completely. And like the fact that a lot of people that I speak to, they don't have setters on their accounts and they're trying to scale to like 50K plus. I'm just like, oh, how dumb can you be? Because like it's the most leverage you can actually do. So like when it comes to, and obviously you said something very interesting as well, you mentioned something about your lead flow. When it comes to the lead flow specifically, like what types of methods are you kind of using to actually get those types of leads? And what was like the painful part of like converting them into actual book calls that you just didn't want to do?
Yeah, so we're running a bunch of different systems right now, like basically every single one. Obviously we have referrals coming in, which is great. It's because we have a good offer. But referrals, right? We're running ads and then also organic. Now, when it came to ads specifically, like what was happening with that, it was pretty streamlined because my agency was taking care of it. But organic is where I was really dropping the ball, which is the worst, by the way, guys. And the reason it's the worst is because if you're fucking up organic leads, they're layups anyway. Right. And I actually wanted to comment on this real quick. I don't know if I told you. Here's what's crazy, dude. So there was one person that actually shot me a message, right? And I didn't respond in time, so he unsends it. But Domic catched it. And then Domic sent him a message and I closed him, right? For a piff. And it's like, I know for a fact, like, obviously, like if I did not have a setter, no fucking way I would have caught that. Right. Because I work all the time. I'm taking a bunch of calls, a bunch of team meetings. Like there's no way I would have noticed it. It would have just slipped my mind completely. Yeah. And I wouldn't have made money. Right. So it's like, yeah, people need to understand that. Yeah. These things, like you can't, like especially if you're trying to get to a big level, you can't fuck up. Like it's just basics.
It's literally the basic stuff. And just to give you guys context, if you don't know who Domic is, that's the setter that we actually placed in Hassan's company. That's like closing pretty much like a bunch of deals and booking Hassan a ton of calls. So it's like you said before, if you don't have a setter in place, it's one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people doing. They think, oh, I don't really need one. I can get one later. But you need one like ASAP, bro. It's super important. So when it comes to like, I want to ask you this as well too. This might be very interesting. Like when it comes to coaches like being complacent, let's say agency owners as well too, when it comes to them being complacent and them knowing that they have this problem, what kind of keeps them from taking the action, like from actually like working and getting a set or like hiring someone? What stops them from taking the action?
Honestly, bro, I think it's just delusion. Like I'm gonna be very upfront about that. Like guys, with me, when I first launched the business, I hit 220K months. And this is a very valuable story. It's a very important lesson. Like it wasn't a lesson that I learned because I knew this was going to happen. So let me make this make sense. Okay. So what basically happened is I launched the business in April, right? And I got like 220K months because of organic audience that I already had. I didn't crack a fucking smile. You know why, Mohiz? I had no acquisition system. And I realized right away, I was like, okay, this is not going to pan out well for me. So because I was a closer for so long, all I literally did, guys, was talk to agency owners, right? So my offer was I was selling to agency owners. I'd probably talked to this point, man, like 2,500 agency owners. And so I knew right away that like you can't get complacent. And surprise, surprise, guys, like what happened is after those 2 months, I made 3K and then 4K, like literally nothing, right? And because of how much money I was spending with my ads team, again, it was negative. Yeah. And to answer your question, Mohiz, I think that the main reason why this happens is just delusion. Okay. So I think that because I was speaking to a lot of agency owners, I knew what was going to happen. But with a lot of these guys, what happens is they launch an offer, it goes really well. Sometimes like people just get very lucky. They just try something, it works. And then because it's working, they're like, oh, it's going to always work. But they don't understand that just because you're getting a bunch of referrals or just because you're getting an organic audience does not mean that that's gonna that's not a real acquisition system, guys. Like
Yeah.
you're basically relying on luck at that point. You
Yeah.
need predictability. Like you need predictability.
So many, bro, it blows my mind. There's so many people that will just get like extremely high, or they'll get like a huge ego when they hit like a decent month. They'll make 15, maybe 20, maybe they even somehow just hit 30, and they have no idea how. They can't repeat it again. And they're like, you know
No.
what? I don't really need this seller. I don't really need a system. You know what? I'll invest in this like a little bit later. Then the month comes and they just go crashing down, and they're just like, oh shit. And now they're scratching, they're trying to find like, oh, I need this system, when they could have like actually gone in the
It's
first.
bro, it's funny because those are the same people that like they'll come in, they'll make an offer, it'll do like okay for like 2-3 months, and it'll just die. And then instead of thinking like, oh shit, you know what? Like maybe I just didn't have an acquisition system, they go back and they make a new offer. And it's like, what are you doing?
It's so dumb. I always start asking people, hey guys, what should I do? How do I change this offer? Because it's not doing extremely well. But it's like you didn't have a system in the first place. You will book like a crazy amount of calls 1 week, and then next week is just flat, like you're making no money. And that's not a business. That you're literally just playing like Russian roulette at that point, bro. It's horrible. So when it comes to like the acquisition system that obviously we helped you build out as well too, like how much easier did that make your life? Like once you had that thing actually running in the background?
I mean, it made it a lot easier, but also like it made me like a lot less stressed, because what was happening, guys, is like back when I did not have a good setter inside of my process, it was interfering with my workflow quite a bit. So let me give you guys an example. It's like, okay, you know, I'm running up a document, or I'm in a team meeting, and then a prospect messages me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll respond to in 10 minutes. 10 minutes go by and I'm like, fuck, like if I don't respond to this guy, things will not go my way. Right. And then I go in and I pick up the phone and I'm messaging, and then I'm talking to my team, and it's just like, why? Like, you know, you can't be doing that. You just can't be doing that. If you're doing that, then you're splitting your focus and you're essentially just bleeding your company. One more thing I also want to mention. There's another thing I didn't tell you, dude. So what happened one time is prospect messages me, I message him back, and he basically messaged me like the morning, and then I got back to him after like 6 hours. Then he messages me back the next day, and he's like, sorry, Hassan, I already bought something. And it's like, dude, that's my fucking point. It's like, you guys, like being in sales for 2 years, I know this, right? It's like, it's so important to be first. It's so fucking important to be first. Like I would talk to prospect guys, and they would be like, yeah, you know what? I'm talking to this guy. And in my head, I was like, no, you're not. I'm going to close you. And I closed him. So it's like, guys, there's fucking sharks out there, right? So if you have a very competitive offer, whichever offer you have, doesn't matter. It's gonna be competitive anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't have a system where you can talk to the prospect on time, they're gonna buy from somebody else.
Cool, Hassan. So like obviously there's a lot of stuff that's actually holding people back when it comes to like scaling. But I want to ask you, since you're obviously this expert in sales, like it's like the one thing that's stopping people, in your opinion, that from hitting like the 50s, the 100K months, all that type of stuff?
I feel like sometimes some people might think to themselves that their following isn't large enough for them to actually consistently put out content or consistently do outreach, which to me is insane because, well, just for myself, guys, like I have like 2,400 followers on Instagram, and I hit like 250K months in a row. And then this month we're on pace to hit 60 cash collected. And like, I'm not famous, right? By any means. I'm just an expert in my domain. And the guy that I used to close for, at this point, he's made like, I think he's like 7 million, probably, right on there, like 7 M's. And when he made his first million in business, at that point, he had, I think 4,000 followers on Instagram total. He ended up getting, like, someone tried to do an attack and give him fake followers, but his real followers were 4,000, which is fucking impressive, right? 4,000, and his YouTube had like a few hundred. But that just goes to show that it doesn't really matter how many followers you have. The thing is, people that are going to buy from you, they're going to buy from you if you're actually good. So if people have this misconception, it's going to significantly hold them back, and it's not going to really do them any favors. You're just kind of burning money and you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. 100% I agree, because like, you know, obviously the person that you were closing for, he had something that a lot of coaches and a lot of people neglect, an actual acquisition system that allowed him to obviously bring in those deals that require having tons of followers and all that type of stuff. So, but when you do have that, when you start the game with that, obviously that's a plus, but it's not something you need. It's not necessary, because if you have a system like what we've been able to build for you, it's literally going to scale you up. And it's so funny because the person you were closing for, obviously, like I pretty much like helped a lot of the clients actually get build out the acquisition systems, because a lot of the clients actually, you know, got really good results from it and actually came back.
Dude, it was funny. It was funny. Like, guys, like funny story is like, I told this to Mahiz back then. So what happened is his stuff was really fucking good because the market got used to the same messaging again and again. And what he did is he kind of just thought outside the box, and he was doing really random shit that you think wouldn't work, but was fucking working, right? It was a complete pattern interrupt. And then what he did is like, he started sharing it. And I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, because everyone's going to start taking it. And then he did it. And then like, he ended up becoming a coach, just like rebuilding the entire setting process for that company, which I think is what makes you really good. Cause again, like you have the experience, like in life, you can't skip the experience. Right. But after that, I told you, I was like, when you do build your new process, don't give it away and just focus on your business. And like, thank God you did, because you stopped coaching for them.
Yeah, 100%. Because like that thing, like it works because, you know, you've seen it yourself. Like you know, you refer me a client, the next day you see them on my story, the booking calls, just like that. Like you refer me to book calls, they close deals, and you can't like fake that up, because you actually need to be good at what you do to be able to like display the amount of competence like every single time. So obviously, you know, if a lot of people are looking at different people or different offers, look at how they bring on clients, and then pay attention into the clients actually get results, because there's so many people that get brushed under where they jump into like a really expensive program and they get zero results. But then you look at the people who are obviously being marketed as like the faces, you don't see the hundreds of people beneath that are like struggling. So but
dude,
like,
it's actually it's one of the main reasons why I wanted to work with you, right? So again, this is kind of like a bit of a controversial topic, but look, guys, like look at it this way: the market becomes sophisticated as time goes on, right? So essentially, when there's a common message that's going on with the market becomes numb to it. And if you're working with a very, very large company, what's funny is I know I'm going to end up scaling my business eventually to 8 figures. So, you know, me saying this might bite me, but hey, look, guys, when a company becomes very, very big, right? When it becomes very, very massive, what ends up happening is the effectiveness of their methods deteriorates because they've done it with so many clients, right? So it becomes less and less effective. So if a company is making like millions of dollars and they have like, let's just say 1,000 clients at one point, and they have like 2 head coaches, well, what do you think is happening? The same head coaches are talking to every single fucking person, right? And so like me, obviously being a closer and knowing this, I was like, okay, if I'm going to work with a company, I want to work with a company that's not too big, but not too small either, right? So like with you specifically, I was like, okay, this guy's proven himself. He's obviously fucking good. And I think that if I work with him, he can design something for me that's specific. You obviously like had not really worked with any sales coach before, or I mean, yeah, like one that like you know was like young obviously, right? So I was like, okay, we can actually build something together that's going to be more unique, and that's not going to be a solution that's just been, you know, essentially everywhere. Which is very, very important in my opinion. Like if you're going to work with somebody, you want to work with somebody that has not worked with the entire fucking market.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they don't understand that. I remember there was this one time, like way back when I was code DMing someone, and they were like, "Oh, once your company does like 200K revenue, like will hit me up." And it's so hilarious because like when I do that, my effectiveness to actually help them is actually going to like not be as good, because like you're actually working with so many people at one point. So I like to keep the, obviously, you know, the community and everything a lot more like tighter, because you get way better results for those people, and obviously the success rate just like jumps up like crazy. And the thing about, obviously, like you said before, like actually being good at the thing and being in the trenches as well daily, you get insights that a lot of people that have scaled to like the millions, like millions and millions and millions a month, that they just don't have, because it's not their fault. They're just not in it as much as you are. So they're just going to give you some other information that they've given to the 100 other people that have joined you into the program. And you're going to complain and be like, oh, why is my stuff not working? So it's just hilarious how ironic that is, where people think, oh, the more amount of money they made, like the more they must be good at the thing. But actually,
and this is what people don't understand. And it's funny because when someone doesn't understand this, I know that they're at a very low level in business. So guys, look at it this way. It's like right now, my company, we're doing about 50, 60K a month. I'm still at a point right now where I'm really fucking focusing on my product. Like, you know, we're in the process of hiring 1 or 2 CSMs, but I'm waiting. I'm like, I really want to make my product really, really good. We had a call about this the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to revamp the whole program. But what do you think is going to happen when my company is doing about 250? At that point, I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? Like, I have a good enough product. Let me really focus on operations, and let me really focus at scale. And I'm going to just be focusing on expanding my team. So it's like when a company like gets to a ridiculous number, it does not represent their product. Like their revenue, it does not represent how good their product actually is. It has nothing to do with it. And that's one thing that a lot of noobs just don't realize. And it just shows right away that they just don't know anything about business.
100%. Like there's so many people that are just like there's a lot of people that obviously make more than us, and they have got like the worst products that you've ever seen in your life, but like they make more money. And it's solely because like obviously they're really good at marketing, they're really good at just getting, they have maybe some sort of unique mechanism that people resonate with. And to think that like a lot of the times being good at that can actually get you to like 7 figures is like mind-boggling sometimes. But obviously staying in the game and having longevity, you actually need to have a good product that actually works, because you know, word the mouth speaks extremely quickly, especially online. Because if you end up messing up someone over, or like you obviously you don't get a couple people a lot of good results, like it starts compounding and eventually bites.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. So like when it comes to obviously your fulfillment as well, that's something that you've been really trying to focus on, because I think at one point you just got so many leads, you were telling me like, bro, I need more like partners, because like everything's gonna break if I don't get it. So like when it comes to fulfillment specifically, what would you say was kind of like the thing that we did that basically kind of created like bottlenecks that we had to fix?
Yeah. So what ended up happening is I started getting tons and tons of clients, right? Once I like fixed my acquisition process, and just started compounding too, because people that I started acquiring from just outbound, or people that I started acquiring from just inbound, they started giving me referrals, right? So just like, because we do a good job, right? not to gas myself up, right? But you know, essentially what happened at that point is I was like, shit, I need more fulfillment partners, because otherwise the systems are going to break. So at that point, I started experiencing what they call like good business problems. Before, to me, that was a very foreign concept, because when I first launched my offer, I was just having a lot of bad business problems, because I wasn't making money, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like good business problems. They're problems nonetheless, but it's like if you're gonna have problems, it's good to have problems that are based on like bottlenecks.
Yeah, 100%. That's like the key thing, because you want to get yourself to a point where like it's like, oh shit, like I need to fix fulfillment, I need to fix this, because there's just so much money to be made out there. Because a lot of people have the problem where they don't have any acquisition problem, and they have the problem of, oh shit, there's no money out there. Like how am I supposed to actually convert all this traffic? How am I supposed to get traffic in the first place? So it's good that you actually solve that problem first rather than actually later. So yeah, I really like that. So when it comes to like your goals that you actually want to hit for the business, like what types of goals and what are the plans that you have to actually get there?
Yeah. So the way that I always look at setting goals within business is I always like to aim for a goal that isn't ludicrous, that's kind of within reach. And I like to just focus on that first before planning like my next goal. So to give you guys an example, like right now, the only thing that I'm concerned about is hitting 100K a month. Now, when I hit 100K a month, will I be satisfied? Absolutely not. But I feel like sometimes people get a bit too ahead of themselves, and they're like, you know, they're at like 10K, and like, I want to make 100, right? It's like, you can't think like that, because whatever your current state of mind is right now, it's going to change significantly when you achieve the next micro goal, right? So for me, it's like right now, man, all I'm thinking about is getting to 100K a month. Number two is making my offer as good as humanly possible, to the point where like if you know, people hop on calls with competitors and myself, it's not even a question. Like I want to get to a point in where like, you know, I hop on, I talk to them, and they're like, wow. And they just pay me. Like that's, I mean, it's kind of already happening a little bit right now, but that's the goal that I have in mind. Is I just want to really, really focus on product. And it's a very valuable lesson from the GOAT Hermosi, right? Where he says that you really want to focus on product, because if you're not, what's going to happen is the cost to acquire a client is going to go up as time goes on, and eventually you're gonna be screwed. And this is why I think that a very good you know, metric that you can use to figure out if a business is good or not is the amount of referrals that they get. And we both get a lot of referrals, which is obviously pretty cool.
It's really good. So like, I mean, I remember at one point you hit like, you know, crazy month because just of referrals and organic. So a lot of people like they don't like understand how important having a good product is, and obviously, you know, using that in your marketing to actually scale, because you can have really like mediocre marketing but really good product, and the product will actually carry it. But you can have like really good marketing, shitty product, you will make money, but eventually it'll all come crashing down, because you're obviously not going to get people results and obviously scale from there. So yeah. And one thing I also wanted to ask as well too, specifically when it comes to like the goals of, obviously we actually came in and placed you an appointment setter that is obviously booking a ton of calls for you. When it comes to like how you see them integrating into your goals, like how important would you say having that type of person is in your business that can actually, you know, take care of these tasks like booking calls, getting closed deals, all that?
Oh, it's literally everything, right? So the biggest misconception that people have around setting is that, okay, you know what, I just need a setter and like my life has changed. That is ridiculous, right? So it's like, there was a wave at one point in which a lot of people were hiring setters from the Philippines. And I was like, I don't have anything against the Philippines. I'm sure they're amazing. But the thing is, those setters are not going to get you clients because they're not going to be able to mimic your personality. It's just not going to happen, right? The level is just not going to be high enough. And so I realized, okay, you know what? If I'm going to hire a setter for my business, the setter has to understand me. The setter has to understand my offer. The setter has to understand sales. And when my setter is speaking with somebody, they have to think it's Hassan, right? Not Domic, right? Like it has to be so good to a point in which they can't tell. And I started what happened is, because guys, like as I take my sales calls, I just tell the people I knew, like it doesn't really matter, and they actually tell me, like, dude, I had no idea, like I don't know who your setter is, but the guy's a beast. And what's funny is, like, my setter is literally 16, and the only reason that I'm telling you guys this is because this just goes to show how important it actually is for the setter to understand your business. So while my setter is 16, he actually outperformed setters that I had that were in their 20s, right? Yeah. So when you gave me somebody, I remember I told you, like, when he's like, make sure that this guy understands sales, please. Like, that's the only thing that I care about. You went, you're like, cool, I got you, dude. Hopped on a call with him, and I was like, this is gonna work. And I was right.
And then boom, you just booking like crazy amounts of calls. And obviously to facilitate that, you also need to have a really good DM process as well too. That's just repeatable. You obviously, I'm sure you look through the conversations before you hop on calls. A lot of the conversations follow the exact same flow. It's like this. And then by the time they do hop on a call, it's like everything's primed up. They've watched your videos, the content, and it's as smooth as a process as you can ask for. But I feel like the biggest mistake a lot of people will do is they'll bring in, or they'll just hire a setter and they have no process, or like they'll think they can go somewhere and just bring up a setter in. They have no process. They have no idea, or they're just gonna screenshot some conversations that they did themselves, the book calls.
Dude, it's literally like closing. Like I don't even have to tell you guys this. This is common sense. I'm sure you guys have heard this all the time. Like, oh, don't read your script on your sales calls. The script won't close the call. Yes, of course. But the same thing is literally for setting, guys. Like, just because you have a script, it's not going to do anything. What happens when the person throws a curveball? What happens when the person throws an objection? What happens when the person is like, maybe English is not their first language, but they're still going to be a very good client.
Yeah.
If you don't have a process that's natural, that's conversational, what are you going to do? Right? You're not going to be able to set the appointment.
Yeah, literally. And bro, it's the biggest mistake I've seen, because I will come into these businesses that have all the lead flow, no process. I go in process. Same day I place this at that. Same day I bring this at on, they book a call straight away. It's like, I think similar with Domic. I think the first day we placed him, he booked a call straight away or something like that.
It's quick. It's super quick. Yeah.
Super quick stuff. So like, obviously having those types of people, crucial to obviously, like, scale your business as well. So when it comes to people as well, I also wanted to mention this, because I have this like theory that I basically say the most important people to obviously have when you're trying to scale your company to maybe the first 50, maybe hundreds as well too. You need to have thinkers, people that can obviously like be the visionary, and then also have the people that can actually do the hard work, the stuff that is required to get you to where you want to be. So I feel like the big thing that a lot of people are missing out on when they buy these expensive programs or these like mass production programs is that they play the role of the visionaries, but then they rely on the coach to actually be the implementer and and also the visionary as well too. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, it's just like, it's really funny, guys. Again, I'm not trying to shit on the industry right now, but like a lot of these visionaries they rely on never run a business in their life, like ever. It's like they literally work in these companies for like $3,000 a month, right? And then they go and they're the quote unquote they're going to build you a 7-figure offer, even though they don't know what they're doing because they never run a business in their life, right? And that's like it's hilarious, but that's the thing. And even in my own company, what I did is when I hired a sales coach, you know what I did, dude? I just took my best client ever who's making $20,000 a month in commissions every single month. The dude's a fucking monster, and I just pay him by the hour just to do a coaching session. That's it. He's not cheap, but he's not supposed to be, right? Like that's the point. So it's like, look, guys, if you buy some 10, 15, 20K program and you think they're going to build a very successful business, it's not going to happen. Right? It's just not going to happen. You're much better off taking your money, paying a coach who's going to actually give you a tailored option. Right. And that's one thing I respect about you a lot, is the fact that you're so present with all the clients that you work with. Right. And one thing that you told me as well is you're like, dude, even when I get to 100K a month, I'm still going to do that, because the thing is your reputation is everything. And you want to make sure that you guard it very, very well, because the moment your name goes bad, Twitter guys are fucking ruthless. Like you're done. Like
Yeah, it's
if
over.
you're on money Twitter and then they come after you, like it's
Yeah,
over.
bro,
So
'cause, like
yeah,
they will literally boycott you. They'll be like, okay, cool, we want to get rid of this guy. Let's just
yeah.
like, it's over. Literally, that's how it is, man. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. So when it comes to like, let's just like wrap it up over here. I wanted to get your perspective. Like, what would you say for people? Let's say like fast forward back into where you were in like that little April, June spot where you're making like 15, 20, maybe you might be doing a little bit under that. What would you say is the biggest piece of advice to people that are, making money, but they just don't know how to make it sustainable and be consistent with it?
I think that, guys, this is gonna sound very cliche, but the first one is you have to stick with it. Don't change your offer. Like literally, don't change your offer. Once you find initial success, don't change your offer. Okay. What's gonna happen is you're gonna have a bunch of roadblocks, but instead, what you should do is you should ask yourself, okay, let me first of all do an audit of my business. And if you're not good enough at doing the audit, someone you trust, pay a coach, just do a rough analysis of your company and figure out where the biggest inefficiencies are, and then just tackle it one at a time. Like for some of you, look, like life's unfair, guys. For some of you, it might take months and months and months. But if you're going to actually do this the right way, and if you actually want to be successful with your offer, then there's some things that you just kind of have to do.
Yeah.
Right. So like my biggest piece of advice would be just stick with it and don't get shiny object syndrome. Okay, guys? Like if you don't know anything about ads, don't do ads. If you don't know anything about sales, don't do sales. If you don't know anything about setting, don't do setting. Do what you're good at. Like literally, Muhiz, I have people come to me like in the DMs and they're like, hey, Hassan, can you build us a setting team? I know I can charge them 5K. I always say no. Because I fucking can't. Like, dude, I hired you. Like, like, guys, the way that I got so good at what I do is that's all I did. I just always focus on sales. It's the one thing I've always been very, very, very good at. And I was like, this is all I'm going to focus on. So don't get shiny object syndrome and just focus on the thing that you're already doing. And I promise you're going to get very good results.
100%, man. Yeah, that's perfect. And like, some, final words as well too when it comes to like obviously the stuff that we helped you do. Well, how much would you say you could recommend me like working with any sort of coach, consultant that's like beneath that point where they're just about to scale, like they know they need it? What would you say in terms of like recommending?
I would say 100% do it. Like if you don't, you're kind of being a bit ridiculous, because look, here's how I look at it. What makes somebody very good at what they do is experience and its track record. So with you specifically, what you actually did is before you even went all out with this offer, you coached what at this point, like how many, like 500 of his clients.
They can went through all my trainings, like everything. I even opened like specific calls with them, bro. It's ridiculous. So yeah.
So myself and Muhiz, look, guys, like I was a closer, and what I did is I coached roughly 500 agency owners in sales before I built my company. Muhiz, he was also coaching for that same company, and all those guys all went through his training, so it's actually validated. And then he went ahead and then he really scaled his offer by using those insights. So everything that he does, it's tested, right? It's not just some hypothesis where your business is a guinea pig and like he's some guy who's just like making $3,000 a month and like hasn't run a business before. Like you've done this for real, right? And so look, guys, if you're trying to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, I couldn't recommend Muhiz more than enough.
Appreciate that, man. So yeah, like that's about to wrap up everything. So obviously this goes to show that pretty much anyone can build something that's actually like you came from like working at Pizza Hut, man. You built like a close to multi-7-figure company already right now. And this goes to show that anyone that puts their mind to something and actually has the correct systems can scale to those ridiculous amounts of numbers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The links in the description to Hassan's channel and everything is going to be down there. And obviously, if you want to learn more about how we can actually help you scale and actually help you hit numbers like what Hassan did, obviously not guaranteeing that, but you can get very close to that if you actually do have the systems that we built in place. So the first link is in the description. And also I'm running a webinar on the 26th of November, 6 p.m. UK time. And I'm going to break down exactly how we've been able to do this step by step. So if you're a coach or consultant or agency owner that's struggling with these problems that Hassan had just before he actually started working with us, please make sure you join that because it's going to be a game changer. So yeah, any final words, Hassan?
Yeah, I mean, guys, do it because look, I mean, I had a very large bank account to actually afford the mistakes that I made because I closed for so long. A lot of you guys probably don't. And like, that's understandable. So if you don't want to make the mistakes and you don't want to waste like 25 grand like I did, then join the webinar and learn something and apply it.
No problem. All right. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.